When I first saw Tank Commander, I thought it was going to be just an updated version of Battlezone. This feeling didn't go away when I played it.
But who cares? When it's done this well, imitation isn't a bad thing. Once I started playing the game more and more, I found there's a lot to like. Just get used to being blown up, though, because you will be blown up. A lot.
Keep in mind that Tank Commander is not a tank simulation. It's more of an arcade-style game based on modern technology. You're put in a tank armed with a machine gun, normal, high-explosive, and armor-piercing shells, guided missiles, a flamethrower, and mine-killer devices.
I did discover one problem in trying to use all these explosive devices. While you can control the tank through the keyboard, or both the keyboard and a joystick, if you try to use a joystick alone, you're only able to move and fire. You can't control the turret or choose weapons from the joystick, so what's the use? It's just as well to use the keyboard. You can, however, assign tank functions to any key you want, so that makes it a little easier.
Tank Commander's missions put you in charge of anywhere from 1 to 4 tanks. Sometimes it seems these tanks are just available for when you get blown up. And you will get blown up a lot. However, if you lose one tank, you can continue with another if there's one available.
Some missions require you to use your tanks for different purposes and in different parts of the combat area. Strategy becomes very important when using more than one tank in these missions.
One added weapon you have is calling in airstrikes. When you get low on strength and Bob the enemy comes bearing down on you in a really big tank with a really big gun, you can call in air support before you get blown up, and you will a lot.
The A-10 Thunderbolt will come swooping down, destroying everything in your immediate area. Just make sure that there aren't any buildings or friendly forces in the target zone when the airstrike cometh, because everything in sight gets wasted.
With tank games, one of the most difficult things to do is drive in one direction and fire in another. Tank Commander makes this a little easier with its map system.
I really dug this. All you have to do is mark on the map where you want the tank to drive to, and off it goes, letting you do lots of shooting.
Tank Commander automatically plots the quickest course to the marked point so it won't try to drive through trees or over mountains.
But that means that just when you get a bead on the bad guy, the tank is liable to make a hard right to avoid a mountain or something, taking your gun with it. It's difficult to fight like this, but it does get easier with practice. But not before you get blown up. A lot.
There are different scenarios ranging from the desert to frozen wastelands, and within each of those scenarios are submissions, smaller goals to accomplish on the way to the big objective.
Tank Commander saves your game at the last completed submission instead of letting you save whenever you want. The submissions weren't overly long, so when you get destroyed in the middle of a mission, you won't feel like you just lost a week's worth of work.
The game looks and feels very much like an arcade game. The tanks and objects don't have the detail found in something like Armored Fist, but they do move very smoothly in 3D. There is an option to turn detail to high, which adds more texture to the landscape, but that definitely slows the computer down.
I was using a Pentium 60, and high detail really made my system run choppy. When I switched to lower detail, it ran super smooth, but the ground and the mountains don't look as good.
You may find that when the missions say beginner, they simply mean that you're a beginner at Tank Commander, and not necessarily a beginner at video games.
Some of these missions are just plain hard. I finally got through the beginner scenario, but I can barely make it through the first stage of any of the other scenarios.
It simply takes lots and lots and lots of practice. Just get used to getting blown up.
'Cause you will be blown up. A lot.
Tank Commander has the ability to play over the modem or network, and this is where it really started to shine.
Unlike Doom, when multiple players are in Tank Commander, the object isn't to kill each other as much as possible, but to capture all of the flags in the area.
There are 4 flags, each a different color, that you must retrieve and bring back to your home base. The trouble is, if you get shot, even if you don't get blown up, you still drop a flag.
And in a neat twist on multiplayer shoot-'em-ups, Tank Commander doesn't keep track of how many times you've killed the other players, but how many times you've been blown up yourself. And you will be a lot. Tank Commander may owe a lot to Battlezone, but it's one darn good advanced version of it. It's gritted teeth, explosion-packed, run-and-gun fun.
Just expect an arcade game instead of a simulation and you'll be happy. The graphics aren't super detailed, but what is done graphically is done very well.
Tank Commander will really satisfy that part of you that doesn't care about making things as real as possible, but just wants to know where to find the enemy and where the fire button is.